All right, today we're stepping right into the heart of a courtroom. We're going to hear a story told in a man's own words, and this testimony, well, it's going to decide his very fate.
So here's the big question, right? A man takes a stand, puts his hand on the Bible, and swears an oath to tell the truth. But in this courtroom, in this town, it feels a lot like the truth itself is the one on trial.
So, where are we? We're in Macomb, Alabama, inside a courtroom. And you can just feel it, right? The air is so thick with tension you could cut it with a knife. Because every single word spoken in this room, well, it could literally mean the difference between life and death.
Okay, so let's get right into it. A man on trial. Let's start with the man at the center of it all. Who is Tom Robinson? As his lawyer, Atticus Finch, starts asking questions, we start to get a picture of who this guy is. He's young, just 25, a family man, married with 3 kids. He's got a steady job, works for a guy named Mr. Link Diaz. His record? Pretty clean, actually. Just one minor charge from a fight where he couldn't pay the fine. But then, there's this one detail that is so important, and you gotta remember this for later. His left arm is crippled, completely useless.
Okay, so after we learn who he is, the testimony shifts gears. Now we're going to learn about the history between him and the woman who's accusing him, Mayella Ewell. And this is key. This wasn't some one-off thing. No, this was a whole pattern of interactions that had been going on for a while.
The testimony lays out this whole timeline. See? It all started last spring. He helps her bust up a chiffer robe, an old piece of furniture, and when she offers him a nickel, he says no thanks. From then on, it becomes a regular thing. She's often calling him over for little chores, chopping up kindling, carrying water. And the big question is, why? Why did he do it for free? Well, he says it himself on the stand. He just felt sorry for her. He could see that her family wasn't helping her at all, and he knew she didn't have any money to spare.
And all of that, it brings us to the day in question, November 21st. The whole testimony pivots right here. And Tom starts to explain that on this particular day, something just felt off, right from the very start.
And here's the first major red flag. Tom walks past this house every single day, right? He knows what it's like. It's usually crawling with kids, making a racket, but on this day, it's silent, eerily quiet. He says there weren't a chili on the place, and you can almost feel his own unease as he's telling the story.
So he asks where the kids are, and this is the explanation Mayella gives him. And listen to this detail, because it's so specific it's kind of heartbreaking, but also a little suspicious. She tells him it took her a whole year, a slap year, she says, to save up 7 nickels, 35 cents, just so she could send them all to town to get ice cream. I mean, wow, that little detail, it just says so much about how poor she is, and maybe, just maybe, how much she planned this.
So you see what's happening here? We've got 2 totally different perspectives crashing into each other. You've got Tom's story, which is all about a history of him just trying to be a helping hand, doing chores out of pity. And then you have the facts of November 21st, which, well, it looks a lot like a calculated lure. The kids being sent away on purpose? It definitely suggests she had a plan.
Okay, so now the testimony takes us inside the Ewell house. And this is where things get really intense. It escalates. And fast.
So according to Tom, this wasn't just some random chaotic thing. It felt like a trap unfolding step by step. First, she says a door is broken to lure him inside. Then she asks him to get a box down from a high schifferub, putting him off balance. And as he's reaching up, she grabs him around the legs. He's so startled he jumps down, and in his fear, he knocks over a chair. And think about that. That chair is the only thing that gets knocked over in the whole room. It shows his panic, not a struggle. And then she says this, and it's just, wow, it's so raw and disturbing. She tells him she's never kissed a grown man before, and she might as well start with a nigger. And then she says, "Kiss me back, nigger." It's this awful, toxic mix of desperate loneliness and just pure racial prejudice. It's truly shocking to hear.
So how does Tom react? He's terrified. All he wants is to get out of there. He says, "Let me out of here," and he tries to run. But listen to this part. He's so careful not to hurt her. He says, "I didn't want to harm her, Mr. Finch. I didn't want to push her or nothing." I mean, can you imagine the position he's in? He's trapped. He knows he can't stay, but he also knows he absolutely cannot push a white woman. He is stuck in a completely impossible situation.
So the whole thing is at a breaking point, and just then, it gets even worse. Someone else shows up,
And in that single moment, Tom realizes he only has one choice.
It's Bob Ewell. He appears at the window, and he screams this absolutely violent, terrifying threat. He yells, "You goddamn whore, I'll kill ya!" And that changes everything. Now this next part is so important, and it's easy to miss. Tom testifies that when Mr. Ewell shouted that, he wasn't looking at Tom. He was looking directly at Mayella, at his own daughter.
So Atticus asks the million-dollar question, the one the whole prosecution's case hinges on. Why did you run?
And Tom's answer? It's as simple and honest as it gets. I was scared, sir.
But Atticus knows that's not the whole story. He needs the jury to understand the real reason, so he asks one more question. Why were you scared?
And this is it. This is the whole story in one sentence. Mr. Finch, if you was a nigger like me, you'd be scared too. And with those words, Tom explains everything. His fear wasn't just about Bob Ewell at the window. It was about the cold, hard reality of being a black man accused by a white woman in that time and place. He knew with absolute certainty what was going to happen, no matter what the truth was. You know, his words don't just point a finger at one family, they indict the entire system. It leaves you with a really chilling question, doesn't it? What happens when telling the truth isn't enough to save you?